Was weird.
I know, it's getting weird. It was weird. I'm just here to remind you, don't worry.
Don't worry.
Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the. Okay, I'll try again.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Good evening, everybody. This is the Monday, March 23rd meeting of the Select Board. My name is Erin Underhill and I am the chair. And with me, I have Ellen Rosenfeld, our clerk, Greg Schultz, our vice chair, Mike Kaczynski, our town administrator, and Aaron Bure DeMarzo, our assistant town administrator. We have a pretty full agenda tonight and there'll be plenty of opportunity for folks to have a chance to interact and speak on the topic that I think you're all here for. So we will get started. First up, we have some announcements. The first announcement is the Friends of the Millis Library book sale that is coming up March 27th through 29th. Friday night, the 27th, is a friends only sale event, and that's from 6 to 8 p.m. And then Saturday from 9 to 1 p.m. And then Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. is the $5 bag sale, which is usually very popular. So there'll be books, games, DVDs, CDs, puzzles, all sorts of things. Another announcement we have upcoming is Millis Beautification Day. That is a great opportunity for folks to come out in the community and do a little cleanup around town. And that's hosted by the Millis Lions. And that will be on Saturday, April 11th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., rain or shine. So folks gather here at Town Hall and get assignments and go out and do some cleanup with your neighbors. It's a nice event. So I encourage you to become involved. We also have a Millis Affordable Housing Open House coming up on April 8th at 6 p.m. at the Millis Public Library. And again, on April 15th at 10 a.m. at the Millis Housing Authority. We will have this flyer posted on our website. So if you'd like some more information, there is an email for you to contact Millis Housing if you have some questions ahead of these open houses. Do you guys have any other announcements?
Nope.
Okay. All right, moving right along. Our first item on our agenda is an appointment for an on-call firefighter EMT recruit.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's a letter in your packet from Nicholas to Cristoforo. And speaking with the fire chief, he is continually recruiting on-call firefighters and EMTs. And the chief has requested that Mr. De Cristoforo be appointed to that position. So with that, Madam Chair, I recommend that the board ratify my appointment of Nicholas De Cristoforo as a recruit on-call firefighter EMT pending a successful CORI, physical, and drug screen. So moved.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
We are a little ahead, but that doesn't matter, correct?
No.
Okay. All right, the next is a request for approval to install temporary fence / windscreens at Town Park. Good evening.
Everyone's here for me, so I'll be quick. Derek Finney, athletic director at the high school, and this is similar to last year with the fence for the softball field at this close end, along with windscreens that would cover the backstop, which is to increase, just signage and branding, but also keep fans from sitting behind home plate and it just makes it a little bit more enjoyable for the officials and the employees as well. So that's what I'm looking to do. So softball fence, I think it's in your package. Same thing. We will install it when it feels ready, and then we'll take it down. I think we put in June 30th. Yeah, June 30th like we did last year, we store it, we take care of it and all that stuff.
Okay, and then just out of curiosity, the windscreen part, is that something you also put up and take down or?
Yeah, well, most likely, it can stay up,
Okay,
but during the winter.
it's better to
It could
take it
be
down
damaged.
probably, yeah.
It's not gonna be the strongest quality, probably, so it just goes up with zip ties. We usually
Oh,
just
okay.
cut them down, take it, fold it up, store it for the winter and have it up there again for the summer.
Great. Any
All right.
questions?
Okay, I move that the board approve the request to install a temporary softball fence and windscreen at Town Park from approximately April 1st to June 30th, 2026.
Second. Been moved and seconded, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eric.
Is your
There's,
microphone
there's seats
working?
up front
I don't
for
know.
anyone who's standing.
Catherine.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound like it.
We don't bite, well, I
Okay.
can't
Well-
speak for them.
I wouldn't speak for them either.
Okay, the next item we have is the request for approval for the Fill the Boot Charity Drive for Muscular Dystrophy Association.
I'm gonna put Joe on the spot.
I sent, you got the packets, right?
Yeah.
Just a little bit about the background of the MDA. So Fill the Boot Drive's been something that's going on for a long time through many fire departments and International Association of Firefighters. Partnered with the MDA since the 50s and the Fill the Boot campaign, I'm sure you've all seen it, kind of crowd the intersection a little bit. Hopefully people give us some money. And about 558 million has gone to research since they've teamed up with IAFF. We do about 6,000 to 10,000 a year, believe it or not, just our department, on the corner of Main and Vermont. So we have a proposal from the professional firefighters in Millis, local 4704, for the town board to approve either April 11th or a rain date on the 12th. It's been a long-standing community tradition that raises funds for families. In past years, our members will collect donations at the intersections of Main and Plain, usually on every side. We set up cones, have ANSI vests on. Very safe operation, minimal to traffic. So just requesting formal approval for those dates.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is there also the ability to, donate like electronically if I'm not driving by and I wanna?
Yes, that's all new to us, this year, which we'll be sending out something on Millis pages. so
Okay, great,
People can donate that way as well.
beautiful, okay.
Right. I move that the board approve the request by the Millis firefighters local 4704 to hold the annual Muscular Dystrophy Association Fill the Boot Charity Drive on Saturday, April 11th, 2026 from 9 AM until 1 PM at the intersection of Main and 109 with a rain date of April 12th.
Second. It's been moved and seconded, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you do have to wait for the hearing until 7:20,
Oh, okay,
so.
Right,
then
being
can we-
efficient.
You can jump
move
ahead.
on to the
Yeah.
contract.
the contract, okay.
Certainly.
We are, just because we have some times on some of these agenda items and people might be looking for these specific things, we need to stick to those times. So we're just gonna move a couple things up so that we are on time again. So we're gonna do the approval of the contract amendment number 3, designer services for the middle high school building project.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The School Building Committee has requested that the board approve the enclosed contract amendment number 3 for designer services for the middle high school project in the amount of $204,380. The services fall outside of the basic services outlined in the owner designer agreement. They've also requested that the board authorize me to sign the amendment on behalf of the select board. So the designer amendment number 3 is in your packet. Happy to try to answer any questions that the board has.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Good,
All right, I move that the board approve and authorize the town administrator to sign contract amendment number 3 with Tepe Architects, Inc. for the designer services for middle high school building project totaling $204,380.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
And then the second half of that is the project funding agreement.
Yes, so also in the board's packet, the school building committee has requested that the board approve the project funding agreement with the MSBA for the middle high school project. This is a standard agreement that all municipalities and entities must sign in order to receive reimbursement from the MSBA for any local school project. They have requested that the board authorize Chair Underhill to sign the agreement on behalf of the select board.
Okay, this is what we've been waiting for. This is the important item. This allows us to get the state's portion of the money, so I hope it passes unanimously here. I move that the board approve the changes of, I move that the board approve and authorize the chair to sign the project funding agreement with the MSBA for the middle high school building project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
It'd be longer for money that comes.
We move to the next.
Yep.
Yeah.
Vote to approve the changes to the special act.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in your packet, there's a document that reflects House Bill number 3911. This special act was approved to be sent to the legislature almost 2 years ago. And it is likely that we will be able to get this approved by this July. However, legal counsel from the Massachusetts State Senate and House of Representatives have requested that the select board accept and approve changes to the proposed special act granting authority to the town administrator to sign payroll and expense warrants for the town. The enclosed document illustrates the changes being requested. I have spoken with town council, and town council has reviewed the requested changes. We both agree that the changes before you do not have any negative impact on the bill and the goals it seeks to achieve. So town council and I are recommending the board approve the enclosed changes, so we could get that back to the legislature and hopefully have them finish their work on this in the next couple of months.
Great. If everybody in the audience remembers, or if you don't, we had a town meeting article on this about 2 years ago, and it just cleans up how the municipality runs. Instead of having the select board have to sign every document to approve the payroll register and everything else, it allows the person we've hired to do that and passed at town meeting. So I move that the board approve the changes to the proposed special act as recommended by the state legislature.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. You wanna do
Madam
the
Chair,
next one?
perhaps we could jump to the
Let's
special.
see, you wanna jump to the special?
Yeah,
So.
Okay, yeah. So this will be the approval of a special municipal employee exemption.
Correct. So Stephen Frasca is our deputy plumbing and gas inspector. He is also a registered plumber and he does work for the town on occasion. In order for him to do that, you recently appointed him as a special municipal employee so that he could do both jobs. He also has to file a financial interest disclosure that needs to be approved by you as required by Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20. He did do that, and so I'm asking tonight for the board's approval so that Stephen can do some work for the town.
Okay, I'm gonna try to stretch this for 4 minutes, just because we've got this clock hanging over our head. I move that the board has which one is it?
048.
Yeah, I move that the board,
Has received a disclosure.
I move that the board has received a disclosure. This doesn't make sense as a sentence, when I was reading it for the third time. I move the board has received a disclosure under GL's General Law, Chapter 268A, and approves the exemption under Section 20D regarding the financial interest identified by Stephen Frasca, and authorize the chair to sign on the board's behalf.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Um,
How about the
I was gonna say,
sign
we did
request?
Alliance, yeah, I think,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, the Millis Lions have a sign request that I'm trying desperately to get to. So,
I know you gotta.
So the Millis Lions are, they have 2 new signboards, if I can help a little bit.
Yeah.
that they're looking to put out. And they can change the language on the signboards, correct, for different events that they have, and they're requesting that these two signboards, get placed around town. We have 6 locations that the board has already identified that are appropriate, places in town. The first, amount of time would be from March 28th through April 11th, and that would be for Millis beautification, correct, Carol? And the other timeframe is May 23rd to June 6th, and that would be for the golf tournament that the Millis Lions host. So it's just advertising
So
purposes.
Do we need to say where those two specific
I
signs
think
go?
as
Or
long
can
as
they
you
just
say
pick?
that, yeah, I think that they can pick, since you've already approved 6 different locations in town, that they could potentially move them around a bit as long as they're at those locations.
So can
But that's
this,
up to you.
so this can also serve as the sign approval for those 2 events right now as
Correct.
well?
Correct, so that's what it actually is for. Yeah.
Okay. All right,
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I move that the board approve the request by the Millis Lions to place 2 signboards at one of the 6 accepted locations for a period of 3 weeks, beginning March 3rd, March 28th and ending April 11th, and also May 23rd, ending June 6th, was it?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Laura.
You talk about the hearing for a minute, then we can open the hearing.
Um,
He's not coming.
do you have, I know, do you have liaison updates?
I do.
All right,
We ready?
how long are they gonna take?
I don't know, 10 seconds?
Go ahead.
Okay, I went to Charles River Pollution Control on March 20th. And, they had an audit that took them 2 hours to get through, which was painful.
I should have gone.
But they did the sewer connections for February and nobody hooked up, sorry, nobody hooked up in February. Not just in Millis, but nobody hooked up. That's that one. I attended the very first Millis HPP working group meeting.
Oh, how was that?
Lovely.
Good.
No, it was lovely. They had a slide presentation of what we're supposed to be accomplishing. This is part of the, Bob Weiss is here, right?
Yes, he's here somewhere, yeah, there he is.
We're supposed to, I don't even know, Bob, why don't you get up for a second and tell them what we learned? Seriously, because this is his board and this was the first meeting and tell us.
Okay, Bob Weiss, Town, Economic Development, Planning Director.
Tap the mic.
Is it not?
Pull it close to you.
Or close,
I know
yeah.
it's-
Close.
for some reason-
Closer?
Yeah,
Um,
there you go.
the housing production plan is something the state requires of all municipalities to take account an assessment of what kind of housing they have, who it's serving, what kind of services are being used. And, you know, how has it grown in the last 5 to 7 years? And what are we going to be looking at in terms of housing, in terms of population, in terms of most general demographics associated with it? The housing production plan is used very often, the educational services use it, the housing services use it. We share it with other organizations, and the state uses it, and it's often used to determine what kind of grants we are going to get in terms of housing and housing services. We got a grant for $72,000. And that allowed us to hire a consultant to help us with this, the housing production plan. And that would be MAPC, Metropolitan Area Planning Council, who did our last one. And we sat down as a group, we appointed a group of I think 9 people. And from all sorts of, you know, people who represent stakeholders and some staff and some of the committees. And MAPC made its presentation to us to show us how it's gonna happen. It's gonna take about 8 months of work. And a lot of that is gonna be research being done on the demographics and such by our consultants. And then we will plan together and some goals as to what we want to accomplish in terms of housing and things of that nature. And that should be done by the end of the year, and we will present it to the state just after that, and hopefully early in 2026, we will get approval from the state.
27.
I'm sorry, 27. We will get approval from the state.
Perfect. The only thing I want to add to it was their focus. To me, their focus appears to be on affordable housing. Not all of Millis housing. I even asked that at the meeting, and he confirmed that. But it's all our housing stock and where we want to be, but their focus is on affordable housing. That's all.
Okay. All right, I only have two committees and they will be 10 seconds. The school building committee met, we voted on the stuff we discussed. The capital planning committee met and we discussed the projects that are pending, and there'll be a full report delivered prior to town meeting. There we go.
I have nothing. All right then. Wonderful.
Move to the hearing.
Yes, okay, so the first hearing that we have is for a public hearing, stormwater and land disturbance permit application, Woodlands at Cottage Ave.
Motion to open. the
Yeah,
hearing.
I move the board open the public hearing to consider the stormwater and land disturbance permit applications for Woodlands definitive subdivision.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
So there really is no discussion today. The applicant wrote in and said they're asking for a continuance, and the continuance would be to Monday, April 27th at 7:15 PM.
Okay, I move the board continue the public hearing to consider the stormwater and land disturbance permit for Woodlands definitive subdivision to 7:15 on Monday, April 27th, 2026.
So, second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Do we need to then close?
No, because you're continuing.
Oh, that's
So it
fine.
remains open until
Okay.
until you go.
All right,
And now your next topic is not a formal hearing, so you can start it whenever you want.
okay. Yep, okay. So the item of the evening that I think everybody is here for, which welcome, we don't usually have this many people. It's kind of refreshing to actually see people in the audience. So this is the informal public hearing to consider a land transfer to Millis Housing Authority. Just want to say a couple things, and we're going to have a couple speakers kind of tee up the discussion. And then I'm going to get a feel for how many people about want to make some statements, and then we'll get to public comment. Again, this is an informational public hearing. This is not a legal hearing. So this is just for the purpose of, informing the public, letting the public have a chance to speak and, give your opinions on this topic. There's been this topic has come up before. Obviously, we discussed it a little bit at the last select board meeting and made the decision to have a informal, more formal discussion now, with having publicized it to have more people appear. There's been different, there's two properties that we're discussing this evening. One is the Braun property, which is on Village Street. And the other is Cassidy Farm, which is on Exchange Street. We are discussing the possibility of signing over a piece of land to the Millis Housing Authority so that they can build housing for our residents in Millis. We have had studies done on both parcels to determine where wetlands are and where buildable space is. So that is another topic that will be discussed in a little bit more detail. There are things though that come up with building a development that happen in the natural progression of a project, right? So things like sewer and pump stations and capacity, those are all factored into discussions, as a natural progression in a project, right? So we don't necessarily have all of those answers up front. That happens naturally within the projects. What else? So what I'm gonna start with, I think that's a pretty decent start. So I'm going to ask, Candace and Javier to come on up and give us a little bit of background about the Millis Housing Authority and the project and what we're looking to accomplish with this. And Ellen also has some slides that we're going to, we're showing them already, that we're going to discuss a little bit about those. And then I'll open it up to some public comment and we'll take your comments.
You want the slides up yet, or do you wanna wait for it?
You could wait.
Why don't we take the slides down, like Candace and I speak? Yeah.
This is, Candace, this
Yeah.
is just, you've been in front of us a lot, which is great. I love seeing you. This is just to give, there's a lot of people here that haven't heard what you're trying to accomplish. So just explain the project that you've explained to us and us to a new crowd.
Okay, so hello, Select Board again. Hello, everyone who's here. My name is Candace Avery. I am the Executive Director for the Millis Housing Authority, and we've been in your town for many, many years, since 1968. We provide state public housing for elderly, non-elderly disabled, and family residents within your town. Currently, we have 73 elderly, non-elderly disabled units on Exchange Street / Union Street, which is Kennedy and King Terrace. And then we have 10 family units on Daniel Street, which I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with, over by the old Gap building that's now no longer there. There's a true need within your town for more affordable housing. We are, as a housing authority, looking to build more additional affordable units within your town that makes sense for your town in a way that is conducive to keeping it a small town without it getting overwhelmed by affordable developments that I think can overwhelm a town if they come in from outside sources that are not always 100% true affordable, and take away from that small town feel where you are a small town. We are also trying to meet the need within your community right now. Our wait list for housing is over 9,000 people deep. We talked about the local applicants that are on our list, which are at least, I think we said 94 local veteran applicants within our list. And recently within our portfolio, we have housed out of 10 units of these, 8 of those with local veteran preference. We are looking right now to ask the town of Millis to donate land to us in order for us to build an additional 45 units that makes sense for this community to try and help keep people within the community in the community. So for example, within my office, all of the time, I have people coming in who have lived in town for their whole entire lives, raised their families within town. They can no longer afford their homes, but we don't have the capacity to house them as quickly as they need to be housed. And if they move out of town, they no longer are considered local. And then they can't stay within the community that they raised their families in. We are looking to be able to build housing that allows them to stay within town. We're also looking to build housing for families who are looking to grow within the town. Maybe they grew up here, can't afford to be here. They need affordable units to be able to live in, to put away money for themselves in order to be able to buy into your community, give back to the community. That is what we're looking to do. We have many stats on all of the background information on this, but I don't think right now is really the time for us to do that. We have a lot of different events that are set up for that, but I would like to definitely answer any questions that you might have. There are 2 properties in question. One is the Braun property and one is the Cassidy property. I know the feelings about the way everyone looks at each property, especially if you live near that particular property and how you feel about the way it's going to affect how you're living. Open space, looking at the land in front of you. Change is always very, very difficult. There are things that we're looking at when we're looking how to build this affordable housing. One of them is how we keep people close enough to the center of town in order for them to be able to remain independent. The Cassidy property offers that to many, many people. And I, as an executive director, I direct Millis, Medfield, and Ashland. This was a very big discussion when we were talking about building 45 new units beside the 60 that I already oversee. But if I can tell you anything, when you go to Medfield with the 60 units I have and the 73 here, which you probably are all very familiar with, you will see our tenants walking down with their little grocery carts to go downtown to go and stop, either get something to eat, walk over to Roach Brothers. They may not drive anymore because they just can't, and this allows them to be able to do that. Even if it's family residents, they're still gonna be able to do that if they wanna work, which in one of my family units on Daniel Street, close enough to Exchange Street and the Cassidy property to be able to say this. That one of my families, she could not drive. She had 2 little kids. She'd walk over to Willowbrook, and she would work nights in that nursing home. She would bring her kids with her. They let them sleep there. And she was able to sustain her life until she could get on her feet and move forward and do better for herself. So when we consider these properties, these are the things that we consider. So I know that Braun is outside of where we're discussing with Cassidy. And as far as I'm concerned, any willingness from within the town to donate land for affordable housing for residents that need it is a great, great thing, no matter where that property lies. It just makes it a little bit more difficult in communities like this when you don't have public transportation in order for residents to be able to get to the center of town and to be able to either remain independent or be productive within their community. It makes it much more difficult. And I've looked at both, but again, as I say, any donation to do this is a huge, huge compliment to your town. Because as I said, you are going to help the individuals within your community, families, elderly, non-elderly, disabled, stay within your community. And there's a tremendous need. We have residents that are here tonight, I think, that can give you some information about what it's meant for them in their lives. And I think that's important too, because I think there's also a stigma as far as what affordable housing means, what that brings into your community, how that works. And they can speak to that. They can speak to what it's meant to them, to either be long-term residents and been able to stay within town, or to come from outside of your town and be able to afford to live because they weren't able to do that before. So I think that that's pretty much what,
Okay,
I should say, and
Yeah.
anything you have from outside of that.
great. Ellen, did you want to talk about the slides and then we'll open it up to?
Unless you
Don't
have,
step aside.
does anybody have questions particular through you to her, or no? We'll wait.
Why don't you do your thing and then we'll get,
So I'm gonna just show, I'm going to, we're gonna put 2 slides. These are the 2 properties. These are the 2 properties. These are the sort of almost same 2 properties. This Braun, yep.
Yeah.
These are almost the same 2 properties that we considered 2 or 3 years ago for the senior center that never really went anywhere. So this is the Braun property. It's on Village Street and it's, is there any way for me to,
point?
yeah,
Probably not.
I don't think
I
so.
can point if you tell me where to point.
You can point?
Can I sort of?
yeah, maybe. Anywho, it's on Village Street. It's right practically on, there you go. It's practically on, so the whole black, if you see the black line, there you go. That's the property. No, you gotta go around, yep,
The whole-
from down,
Right.
okay? That's it. It's 23 acres. And, it's almost on the Medway line. So there's a couple of, now, this, you'll see a black box the big, yeah, that dark black line is where, this development would go. And so you see it's got kind of a long sort of way in from Village Street. The thing that's tricky about this property is the green line that goes through the middle. That's a stream, a river, whatever it is, it's wet. And anybody that develops, this is the piece I've spoken to people about and said that we hired, a botanist to go out there, flag the wetlands, but we also hired him, it is a him, to wait till that river / stream dries up, because they can dry up. If a botanist goes out there and it's been a dry enough year, and he takes all of his calculations and his measurements, and in his professional whatever, he says, okay, it's not a river or a stream, and he can take the information, send it to DEP. It takes a little bit of time, but they can take his word for it and deem it not a stream. If that's, we've had the two wettest years in the history of ever, so it has not dried up since we hired him. But I am still hopeful. If the stream goes away, that piece of land is much more desirable development. Because right now, it sort of bifurcates the entire lot. And if you're in the business, you know that you can't work within 100 feet of a wetland. Well, that's a wetland, which means now you gotta get DEP involved and Conservation Commission. And again, it's still doable. It just adds to the time and to the cost of development. So it's a little bit trickier. Other than that, the only other piece, because I'm gonna talk about this with Cassidy as well. There is intermittent sidewalks that go up Pleasant Street eventually, but like I said, it's intermittent, and that's that piece. And the other piece that's relevant is sewer is 1,250 feet away, which is in Medway, actually. We'd be hooking up there, which is doable. Again, it adds to the expense. So you've got a couple of just quick things. It's, how many acres is it, Karen?
6.7.
No, he's
23.1.
23.1, we would, if this were the piece, 6.7 acres would be transferred to the town, not the whole piece. And I did a little bit of calculation, but whatever, that's it, that's that piece. That's the Braun piece. Now we're gonna flip over to Cassidy. We can go back, because Karen knows how to do this.
Yeah, I was great at this.
And I don't. Look at how good she is. There you go.
Nicely done.
There we go.
Oh, all right, Cassidy. The total land area, 41 acres. The piece that we would be talking about is the square, right there. Now, that square is in what I would call upland, because it's not wet. We had this flagged as well, same botanist, which is a wetlands expert. Now, as you see, there's other upland left over. There's another 6 or 7 acres left over. That piece can be moved down, up, back, forward, spread. It's just a placeholder to tell you about the area for 45 units. This piece is across the street from Oak Grove Farm. It's on Exchange Street. Sewer is right there at the intersection of Island and Exchange, the little black dot. Karen, down further, yeah, right there. And if this piece were chosen, there's an extra 30-something acres still there, some upland, some wet. That doesn't include that piece on the corner, that's the Dewey. So this is the second piece. And I don't know what else to say about it. The sidewalk ends at Island Road, closer to us. So it would have to be extended a few feet if you come out onto Exchange Street. And again, it's across from Oak Grove Farm, which is the walking trails and soccer and there's some activity there. And
Okay.
that's the straight out, two parcels.
Okay, so yes, Candace,
Take one more comment.
sure.
Just one more quick comment, because I think it's important for everyone to hear too. That with our design and development, once we decide whether or not the town supports this affordable housing development, that when we move forward with it, through the RFP, through design and development, your town input will be taken into consideration all across the way. So we will hold meetings with all boards, we will hold meetings with neighborhoods, we will hold meetings with our residents, even within our own community. It already exists. So you'll have a lot of feedback in the way that design is rolled out in the end of things. So on either property, I think that's important for to know that you'll have input in that.
Thank you. Okay, so just so I can get kind of a feel for how this will go. If you plan to speak this evening, could you please raise your hand? Okay, excellent. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to ask you, one at a time. You guys can come up. I'd like you to state your name and your street address for the record. And then I'm going to give everybody about 2 minutes to say what you would like to say about these properties and this project. What would be best, is to not repeat things. So if somebody else has said a point that you wanted to make, no need to do it again, I guess. So, and as Candace said, we do have some people here that are residents that would like to speak about their experience, which is fantastic. We have other neighbors that would like to speak about concerns, which is also more than welcome. What we'll do is we'll just get started. So, who would like to start? Don't all jump at once. Okay, Scott.
Easy for 11 Union, a resident there who's lived there since 2017. And I lived in Stony Brook for 20 years, and when my mom passed away, it became unaffordable. And I was at a point in my life that I didn't think I was gonna be able to stay in Millis, because I couldn't afford it. It was nothing cheap. And I applied at Millis Housing and got in, and it's been a great experience. It's a great community. We have a Christmas party every year, we have events. You know, it's just a well-kept community that
Excuse
means a
me one
lot.
second, Scott, can you pull the microphone up? Just a reminder to anybody who's speaking, you have to be this close. So otherwise people at home cannot hear you, okay? So I'll just tell you.
Everybody at home can hear me. But no, it's been a great experience, and I think it's an important need for the town. If people want to retire in this community, they want to live in this community, they want to stay in this community, it's important. And at some point, everybody ends up in that way in life, so it's been a great experience for me, so thank you.
Thank you.
You have a stool or anything?
It'll blend.
Hi, I'm Terry Malvesti. My former name was Terry O'Reilly. I've lived in this town on and off most of my life. And I live at, Kennedy Terrace. If anyone told me I was gonna live in the old folks home, I would have said no. But I've, worked all my life. I've been single for a long time. And, I came to retirement and I didn't know where I was gonna live. I went to an affordable housing place. I made $36,000. They told me I made too much money. 4,000 of it was for my health insurance. So I really only made 32,000. I made too much money to live there. They wouldn't take me. And I was gonna have to pay about $1,000 a month for rent. That rent went up every year. So if you think there's affordable housing out there, there isn't. There's no other place to go. People ask me, how do you like it there? I love it. I couldn't be happier. I feel safe. I know this town. The people are need this place so much. There's so many people who have health issues. Don't have any money like me and had nowhere else to go. So I hope that you approve this because we really need it.
Thank you. I'll do you next, yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Jim McKay, 416 Village Street. It's the first time I've addressed the board as a non-director of public works. So maybe I can address some of the sewer issues, concerns and questions that were put forth about the sewer. Because many of the people in this room have asked me these questions over the last couple of weeks through phone calls and stuff like that. And I don't have Facebook, so I could not respond to them. The last time this issue came up, we were talking about the senior center being part of Cassidy Field. And most of the concerns was that the station that would have to service this would be the Timberline Sewer Station. The Timberline Sewer Station was built in 1989. And there was a study done in 2012, which I have, and I think I've given it to you all over the years, that put the station at that time in 2012 in good condition. It was rated pretty much as the same as the one at 7 Water Street. And I can tell you since 2012, and we're in 2026, some of the recommendations were never taken care of to this day. And most of the neighbors that live adjacent to this property of the sewer, with the lift station, know that they've seen the trucks over the years, many trucks there for 24 hours, 48 hours, pumping while the pumps were offline. When this property was purchased, there was a line, a drain line and a sewer line that comes into, there's an easement that comes right up off of Island Road that was put in there purposely for the purpose of servicing a municipal type building, meaning a police station, fire station, a small school or something of that nature. 48 units with 48 toilets, 48 washing machines, 48 whatever flushing 24 hours a day would be a little overload for the station. Ellen spoke that the connection is at the corner of Island Road and Exchange Street. That services the high pressure line that comes from Middlesex Street. And it's up high and.
Jim, I'm gonna give you one more minute just because you're giving us really good information about the sewer thing, but.
I have to apologize.
Sorry.
It's, because again, most of it, pick it up and ask in a minute. So that manhole that Ellen brought up, it's not conducive for that type of flow. In Exchange Street, there's a high pressure main that you could not use for this connection, for this type of connection. And as far as the Braun property, I would just ask, who's gonna pay for this?
Right.
Is it the developer, or is it the ratepayer that's gonna pay for all this upgrade of the sewer station and the Braun property?
Thank you. Sir.
Good evening. My name is Mohammed Khalil. I actually live on the corner of Exchange and Island Road, right on the next to the square that is on the screen right now. Two things. I was never even informed about this whole thing, but I'll get to that later. If there's going to be 48 units, do we have any sort of designs, buildings, or parking spaces, or is that all going to be in that within that box? And another thing, you mentioned that box will actually move up and down, or it's like, what does that mean? How can you sell a property that can move around?
No,
I think she's just saying that for the purposes of discussion, that it would be a plot about that size. And it might be positioned there, but it might be positioned a little bit further down or further back, but that's about the square size we're looking at. So, it's obviously in the very beginning stages of discussion, so nothing's really been decided yet. It's just trying to give it an idea of what size and shape we're looking at here.
when Erin mentioned before that, and Candace said it also, this is a development like any other. It's gonna go through all the departments in town. It's gonna go to conservation. It's gonna go to planning. It's gonna go to zoning. And through all of that, the public gets to come. and give your input. If the sewer doesn't work, the developer's gonna upgrade it or walk away. It's part of this whole development. It's not the purview of us. We're not those experts. Our purview is just what piece we believe gives it the best shot at coming to fruition.
Yeah, so I just wanna, I don't know if anybody can hear me at home, I can, it's, anyway.
Get close.
Yes, I am right there, okay, I gotta get the right angle too. Never had to be this close, I've been doing it for a lot of years. So, I think the important thing that Ellen said, and, this is a concept. If we pass this at town meeting, when it goes to town meeting, we will enter into serious negotiations for the final design, which will include the entire, public. If sewer issues come up at that point, we can either, as Ellen said, have them addressed, or we don't sign the purchase and sale. If we want to turn that into a longer skinnier rectangle, if that's a better option, I don't know if it is or not. As long as it's got enough square footage to put the building in. So even after everything's done and they go to permitting, if they come back with something that, and I don't want to scare Candace, but if there's something we don't like, if like the sewer doesn't work and they're not going to pay for it. The shape of the building is wrong, the design is wrong, it's encroaching too much, it doesn't work, we don't have to sign this final purchase and sale. So that's why we're not saying we're selling that piece of property. We're saying we're selling a portion of the Cassidy property to be determined as we get all the final details negotiated out. The important part is trying to reserve land for housing, make it clear that we're interested in it as a community to provide housing for people. My wife always talks about Terrio, but that grew up in this town, to give them housing options. People have complained for years that we're forcing people out with taxes. We're trying to make a place for 48 people who live in this town, and Candace spoke a few nights ago, and she said that 80% of the people that came off the wait list, remember there's 9,000 people on the wait list, and they had 10 openings. 8 of those 10 openings went to Millis residents last year. So this is going to be your neighbors moving into it, and we're just trying to find an option to keep our neighbors in this community. So that's why we're doing this tonight. Don't get hung up on the exact design, but it's going to go in that approximate area. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be in that immediate area. If sewer doesn't work, Jim will consult with an expert, maybe you, about what needs to be done to get it to work, because we do have to have it work, and it's going to be a cost, and we don't want to have the town eat that cost.
That area has been always known to be wetlands. It's like, if you walk right now, you're gonna sink right behind my house, right? The sump pump, all the sump pumps of my neighbors, it's constantly working down there. If you put something there, it's gonna affect all of us, right? So I'm hoping there's gonna be some kind of a thought process going into that too. Right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A wetland determination is one of the key pieces of this. You can see what's clearly marked now, but it was always acquired. And I was on the first year on the finance committee, 28 years ago, we bought this in the Vederver property. It was one of the first things I did. And it was always earmarked as, I think Jim said, is municipal use. Maybe not this exact use, but it's always been considered a municipal use property in sections. That's why some of it was set aside as conservation and some of it wasn't. We didn't do all of it as conservation because we thought there might be a need. And the need for the school isn't there, the need for the police station isn't there, need for the library isn't there, but the need for housing for our neighbors is getting more and more important in this community.
There are no drains from Island Road all the way south of that. So all the water on the streets has nowhere to go, so it'll flood into those fields, just a heads up, I'm sure you know that. But that's been a big problem for all of us.
But what we don't know yet, we will find out as this goes, as we investigate it with the eye to building. I mean, that's the key piece. We need to, nobody's gonna invest the money, the time, the developer isn't gonna do it unless they know they have a path that could get them to a building. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but.
Thank you, I just want to take more time.
Thank you. Yes, in the back.
Andrew Manning, J William Heights. I have a couple of questions. The first one, we're hearing a lot from you folks of that this is going to happen, but can you confirm this will have to get voted through town meeting?
Yes, this will be an item on the town meeting warrant, and I didn't mean to imply it would happen, but if it does go forward, those are all the things that happen. Town meeting has the final say because we're transferring property.
my second question, when I look at the zoning maps, I don't see either of these areas zoned for multifamily usage. We just went through the rezoning of multiple areas of the downtown section. There's a massive spending bill that's been passed by our current legislation that would fund affordable housing. Why are we looking at giving up these two parcels of land as opposed to letting the zoning and money flow naturally through private development?
Well, these are the only two that Millis owns, the town of Millis owns. I can't go take some, I could take yours and offer it, but you probably wouldn't like that.
But a private developer can come buy the land that we've just rezoned and develop affordable housing.
Not this affordable housing.
Yeah.
That's the difference. I learned everything. If you
Well,
wanna
not Millis Housing Authority, but if I'm a developer and I wanna go buy a parcel of land that's just been rezoned, I can do that, and in that zoning, I can build housing, and if I choose that affordable is the correct.
No, because you won't as a, first of all, there are sort of.
I won't unless I get state money, which is out there. So,
Oh, okay, okay.
There's,
we just rezoned a bunch of new area for multi-use housing, which in theory could turn into affordable housing. I guess what I'm saying is that would still be on the table. If we give this land and develop it, you still have pretty wide swath of future development area that could be.
well, first off, I was on the MBTA zoning, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
None of that is designated affordable, none of it. It's all housing, not affordable housing. It's lowercase a. If you build enough of it, it becomes less expensive is the theory. But it's not affordable. It's certainly not, and Candace spoke about the rents. I think the floor on the rent is $50 a month. Most people would pay between 300 and 800. So that's affordable. I mean, the places that they just built that are 40B projects, affordable is 2,500, 2,700. So that's affordable. This is truly affordable. You're paying no more than 30% of your income. And most people are paying between 3 and 8. So you'd go broke if you built that. I'm not a real estate developer, but yeah.
I guess what I'm saying, is we're seeing from a resident perspective, we're talking about this, but there's also a large scale affordable unit going in that's.
It's not affordable. That is not, I mean, I'm not quibbling. It's not classified as affordable. It is market rate housing in the MBTA
I
zone.
hear you, I'm
Yeah.
not truly
Yeah.
affordable, I understand that, and listen, I'm not in situations other people are, but
Yeah.
I understand the need for affordable housing. What I'm saying, well, that may not be truly affordable, it's a large scale multifamily residential that is going next to people's houses, and I think people have a concern for that, so.
No, I believe, I
Those are my two
understand that,
questions
yeah.
On the zoning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Nicole Riley, 250 Ford Street. I just want to clarify something for everybody as a member of the planning board and the Economic Development Committee and the MBTA zoning. Part of the problem with the term affordable housing is that Massachusetts uses that term for multiple purposes. We have 40Bs that are literally, this is the definition, capital A, affordable. But when you have a 40B, what that means is that a maximum of 25% of those units are the builder designates as affordable. The remaining 75% of those units are market value. So if I'm a developer and I get a 40B development and I build 10 unit and I have 10 units, I only have to make 2 of those affordable. The state also uses the term affordable housing as a lowercase a, which all that means which is what we talked about with the MBTA. All that means is that it is lower than the average rent across the state. There is no minimum income requirements or maximum income requirements for lowercase a affordable housing. There's no government, it's just a catch-all term. And it is unfortunate that those two terms as affordable are also included, which for those of us who are as old as I am, knew of these sorts of developments is this was government housing. It's a lot nicer than the government housing when I was a kid, which I lived in when I was younger. But it is that, just to put it on a scale for everybody to understand, these affordable housings are three completely different things. And you know, the state has been pushing and pushing and pushing for affordable housing, but they never define it. What they mean is if the average rental is $3,500 for a 3-bedroom, affordable, lowercase a, is 2,800. So I just wanted to clarify when we're talking affordable housing, that you can't compare the MBTA zoning that we just did downtown for multifamily, lowercase a affordable, to this sort of housing. And just on a personal note, when you're thinking of what property you want to consider, please think about where you'd want your mother to live. Where would you want your kids who want to stay in the town, aren't making enough money to buy $1 million house? Where do you want them to live?
Yes. Hello, Chris Maltinsky. I live at 431 Exchange, which is the Cassidy Farmhouse. And I just have a statement that I'd like to read just because I'm nervous about getting up in front of everybody. But I would like to express the disappointment shared by those of us who have bought the Cassidy property regarding the lack of communication surrounding the discussions about Cassidy Farm. While there may not have been a legal requirement to notify abutters, it would have been a courteous and neighborly consideration to do so. There are 3 abutters to the Cassidy property who have collectively dedicated hundreds of hours volunteering in their service to the town of Millis. Despite their longstanding commitment to the community, one of whom has since passed, may she rest in peace, none were extended the basic courtesy of being informed of these discussions. Additionally, I would like to express concern regarding the apparent urgency in moving forward with the transfer of this valued property to the Housing Authority. It is difficult to understand the necessity of expediting this process, particularly given that there may be significantly less oversight once the development begins. Greater clarity around the rationale for the timeline would be appreciated. It is important to acknowledge that the level of disappointment felt, particularly given that some members of this board are also our neighbors. We hope that moving forward, greater consideration will be given to being transparent and respectful communication with those that are mostly directly impacted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I did have a lot written up, but I think I'll just kind of wing it. Susan Simpson, 52 Island Road. I'm one of their abutters on Cassidy. So there's many issues. I think one of the things is it just seems very rushed. I know maybe for you guys it doesn't seem rushed because you said you've talked about it a lot, but nobody in the surrounding area on Island Road has talked about it. So there's a lot of concerns there. The biggest concern is the level of water that is there and all the little streams and all the aquifers that are there. And I know you've done your studies and everything, but every single person on Island Road, on our side and the other side, all have sump pumps. You start disturbing all that water and land there, we are going to have massive, massive flooding in our basements and in our homes. And I know, I'm not saying that we don't need this housing, we do, but I don't understand why we aren't looking downtown. And don't say that you don't have property, because you do have property, but we're only looking at something that's already paid for. Why aren't we looking at property that's truly in a downtown area where people can walk right across the street to Roach Meadows, can walk up to the senior center, the fire station is here, everything is right there where they need it. Jim McKay has already said, he's told you already that the pump station is not going to work. But you're going to go in and have the contractor come in and say, oh yeah, we've got this magic plan and all of a sudden it's going to work. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like you're saying, well, we don't think it's going to work, but we're going to give it to the state anyway. And then if it works, oh good, it won't. Why aren't we looking for real downtown property? And especially since we're only talking about a small acreage, that people can really look and say, oh, that's a 3-story building, it fits downtown. A 3-story building is not going to fit right there on Cassidy Field. It's going to be an eyesore.
I really think that we have spent $800,000 on Cassidy. We're about to spend $1 million on Ron. This is our money that we spent. We should not be transferring it over. What, do you disagree with that?
No,
Oh, okay. So I think it's just not right. And then some other questions that I have is, and I'm sure other people want to speak to this, but I know for sure, because we had in 2008, we had an oil leak coming from the field and we had to clean it up. We worked with the DPW. There's oil out there in that field. There used to be a person in the corner that owned a retail, I don't know if it was a shop or an oil company. So there's oil out in that field. Who is going to be responsible when they start digging up? Who is going to be responsible cleaning up the oil? Who?
With a developer would be
The developer. Okay.
responsible for that.
Okay.
But we have to wrap up.
Well, no, I still have some more things that I want to say.
Yes, but we have a bunch of people to get
Okay,
to.
well, excuse me, hopefully I'm gonna ask some of those questions right there. So the other thing is,
Yeah, but we can't do that, so I'm gonna need you to sit down.
Our time?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay, go ahead.
so. I don't know, it's just, I know people say that, oh, we don't want to give up this beautiful land and we don't want to give up, you don't want to give up your backyard because it's so nice, but truly it is nice. But it's not just nice for us. It's nice for people that are driving by and they're playing the soccer field and there's wetlands out there. There's wildlife out there. It's nice to have a nice aesthetic in our town. Our town is being built up and every piece of property, every piece of land is being gobbled up by all these houses. We need to have some open space and to enjoy our land and our future with our families too. And I'm not saying that I don't want to have housing for people like 40B housing, because I know there is a need. I've worked at the Millis Food Pantry since 2011, so I understand there is a need. So but I don't feel that we should give away property to the state and they can just do whatever they want with it, because once it's in there, it's going to be hard to take away.
Good evening, Terry Cassidy, 56 Island Road. We're the neighbors next to the affordable housing. So I have a couple questions. Is it gonna be a one-story? I know it's still in design. It's gonna be similar to what we have at Kennedy Terrace, or is it gonna be something like the 109 structure up in the Midway
Do
line?
we have an answer?
We
for
don't
that?
have an answer.
Okay.
Sorry, Terry.
That's all right. And second question, obviously I have a plan from Carlson Survey. So we have some wetlands like we talked about. We have the Zone C, which is a replication area for the Payne well. Is there gonna be the required setbacks, the 100-foot buffer zone, so you can't build within the 100-foot buffer zone? And same with behind all my neighbors' houses, including my own. There's wetlands directly behind me, and it looks like that structure is pretty close to our backyards. And if any,
Okay, go ahead.
and if anybody knows how wet it is, I know, I mean, the groundwater is a foot below the surface in most areas, if not present. So that structure is gonna have to be a raised structure. So all the water is gonna wanna migrate towards the island road, and like our neighbors said, we're constantly pumping water. The street, all the groundwater from the street comes onto the field, into our backyards.
Terry, any development that happens there, it's illegal to dump when you create a new development, you build a house. It's illegal to shed anything onto your neighbors. It's all science, right? I don't understand a word of it,
I work in construction, so
but I
know.
hire people that understand it.
Yeah, so, and I
You
do,
do too.
so I'm just saying.
So nobody can come in there and put a pipe from there and run their water onto your property.
Yeah.
It's just not done. It's not designed, engineered, or built.
I'm just
It's
saying,
illegal beyond.
yeah, you can't discharge it
Right.
to somebody else.
So, like any development, they're subject to the same setbacks, the same everything. And when it goes through the process, you can be there and put your input and like any other development. I can't say any more than that. But to think that somebody's gonna come in and dig a hole and throw the dirt onto your yard, maybe back in the day, it doesn't happen that way
And I'm
anymore.
not saying that, I'm
I
just
know.
saying,
I
we're
mean,
gonna build,
everybody has a ring camera, you
Yeah.
can't do anything.
we're gonna build this structure and we're gonna have a ton of water to deal with. If it does go through, I mean, that's all I'm saying. And then the last question, I know Jim McKay touched on it briefly. So I'm one of the property owners that have a sewer easement through my yard. And through all the yards on Island Road. So if it was built for our neighbors, because the road isn't very wide in Island Road, is the exit and entrance to the facility gonna be out onto Exchange Street?
Again, very good question. It could be,
Okay,
it could be. That could be your input if it goes there. We don't want the island roads too narrow, too well, but I don't
and there's a
know.
potential that the sewer line would have to be dug up in our neighborhood.
If it's a potential that it does, it would be put back. I mean, like,
I mean, unfortunately, a lot of this is kind of conceptual at the beginning stages, you know?
I'm just saying,
because
before we
don't-
turn over a piece of land,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of cost. And the last one, and I'll leave after this, is if it's turned over, where does the money come from to build the structure from the state? Or does the town?
you wanna,
State.
Oh, sorry, does the,
Just to answer.
yeah,
Yeah.
he knows, Mary,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
can
know.
answer that one, yeah.
I'll just sit here in case there are any questions.
Well, how
So
did it get
through
built?
this process, as we're saying, or what I had just briefly touched on, the neighbors will
Candace,
have say.
Talk in-
The neighbors will have say in the design and the development. My whiskey drinker voice, it's like, no, no.
It's okay.
So you will have say in that, and we will have many meetings if this land goes through to talk about all of these water issues, because even on Kennedy and King, honestly, the Millis water table is high. We have some pumps in our basements there. There are ways to look at this, and the builder will take care of that. As far as funding goes, this will not be coming from the town, it'll come from the developer who answers to the RFP. And then they go forward with state funding, applications and all kinds of other things to be able to do that.
thank you.
Thanks. I saw a hand. Yes, Joyce.
Madam Chair, I just want to remind everybody too that this has to go through town meeting and it has to pass by a 2/3 majority at town meeting. So just keeping everything in perspective here.
I just have a question, and it could be premature, but they're all talking about, and I didn't realize about Island Road having such problems with water. I knew that the area of the Cassidy Farms had some wetlands. If this were to go through, if we chose, which seems to be a better location only, and I'm not trying to cause any problem between the Braun and this, but for cost effectiveness. Braun has no sewer, this does, this is closer to downtown, further away. But I don't know, I'm not gonna say one is better than the other, but that's the only thing that I'm seeing. Would it be possible to request that the builder put something like there is at Milliston Commons, where you're putting a retention pond, where the water stays within? And that would eliminate the problems for the water going to the other people's homes and into their basements, and possibly eliminating some of the runoff for them, if that could be something contingent to the builder.
Okay. Very good. Detention basins are just part of a drainage system. So I don't know how many detention basins, if any detention basins. It's all, remember the science I talked about? It's part of the science. So I don't know.
And we just had a reminder to use the mic, so apparently it's not picking everybody up, so if you think you sound loud. There you go.
Back up a little bit, first time I've ever said that.
4 inches.
Yeah.
Steve.
My name is Stephen T. I live in Kennedy King Terrace. I'm one of the lucky ones. It only took me about a year to get in. Most people wait 2, 3 years to get in. The town needs more affordable housing for the elderly. That's not even up for debate. It needs it. And this isn't about designing, this meeting isn't about designing the whole place. It's about whether we should sell 5 acres of land to Millis Housing Authority so that we can get more affordable housing. I've lived in Millis since 1954. I can't afford anything. And like I said, I'm a lucky one to get in there. And this town doesn't do enough for the elderly. that, the elderly services are in the basement of this building. You've gotta go downstairs, down a ramp, or use the elevator to get there. And when they wanted to build a new place, the town shut it down. Fine, we'll stay down in the root cellar, I don't care. There's about time this town did something for the elderly, and there's a definite housing shortage for people like me.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jim Duffy, 343 Exchange Street. I also, I'm a property manager by day, so I manage residential properties from Quincy to Hyannis and Norwood, so I'm acutely aware of rents and affordability, et cetera. What I want to convey here, so one thing that hasn't been talked about is cost of the properties that the town has paid for, is still paying for, and what's the financial picture related to that, right? We're still paying for Braun. Are we gonna continue to pay for it? Is the town gonna be made whole for these properties that we've spent the money for? Which I doubt, right? But anyway, I said, what we haven't had is the whole picture. Today, I would vote no on granting any land because you haven't told me the controls, the deal, the stipulations, how we, the town, would maintain control of what ultimately happens. Yeah, we'll have input, great. Input is not guaranteed to get done if someone doesn't like the input. Right? So that's my position, right? You have to tell me the whole plan, and that would be for the whole parcel, right? Because I've been on many projects that, darn, if we only did something back then, we wouldn't have this problem to do now, right? So with respect to access to the other pieces of the parcels, how are we going to make sure that that is not somehow cut off or something like that, right? So ultimately, I think I prefer personally, is there a notion that the town would support a transfer, but ultimately the town to approve the final designs, the final deal at some point in time. Last question, we're talking 40-something units. At one point, I thought at one of these discussions, there was 40 units per acre. And we roughly talked about, we need 100 units, so if we gave them 3 acres, we would get the 100 units. It's about 40 units on how many acres?
I believe it's 48 units is what we're talking about. 45 units.
45 units.
Yeah, 45 units.
On how many acres?
6, can I see the picture?
Because there was a density that to make it economically efficient to build, you needed a certain density per acre.
I never heard,
I don't,
Jim, I've never heard that. I don't know where that came from. How many acres is the little,
I thought it was 3-something.
no.
I thought it was
6.
The Braun.
6.7.
6.7 at Cassidy, and how many at Braun?
No,
This is
that's
4
it.
point,
here.
It says 3.5 on that picture. Yeah. And I think we've always talked about 45 units, Jim. I think that's always been the number we've talked about. I think there was a point when you take this and another proposed project totally unrelated, that came close to the 100, but
Right.
that was.
Well, we
But this
needed
has always
100 to
been-
get to 10%.
Right, yeah, this has always been 45 units.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never heard of an acre per density thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what
At
that
one
is.
point, like,
Okay.
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter, that's fine. So anyway, I said my piece, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Without
And-
knowing the deal, I'm not personally gonna vote yes, right?
I'm gonna just say this, I have no idea continues to have oversight.
But we have the planning board.
You have input, but in the final design, it would,
Right.
it'd be up to the developer.
I would
And they'll
think so.
present that and they'll bring in all of those plans, like I said, through committees, through all of the planning board, zoning board, all of
Right.
those items. And do all of these meetings within your neighborhoods and, at the authority, but the town doesn't have that.
I
final
wouldn't
vote.
think that they would,
No, they
because
don't.
why would they dare do it if the
Right.
town were unreasonable? And I get that.
And I think the question was, is it a transfer? It is a transfer of the land.
Yeah.
And then where you're not gaining any of the income right now, because that property, when this development goes in, you'll receive funding back through the taxes of that property also.
So this property pays taxes.
Yes, so that the property will pay into the town.
Kennedy Terrace doesn't, right?
So we pay a payment in lieu of taxes. It's established through the state, but we pay just not, it's not at the same value as your regular property tax. But we do pay into the town.
It's essentially if I may, Chair, it's
Yes.
essentially a pilot payment.
It
that the
is.
State pays, it's similar to any, state-owned land. The state's not required to pay taxes, but they do give pilot payments to towns that have, state property within its borders.
Hi, Nate Moltinsky, 431 Exchange. To mirror Mr. Duffy's comments, he kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but I think we're kind of forced in front of the cart because the cart.
Switch that, yeah, it's a good, yeah.
We're making the decision on a property to give it away to an entity. And anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million. Without any idea of what is gonna happen there, what it's gonna look like, what it's gonna involve. That's kind of hard. We have a planning board, we have a zoning board, we have people in this town that can look at a project and say, this is a good fit. This is what it should look like. Not it's like, here you go, build whatever you want. Oh, you can have input later. You got the property. They don't have to say, okay, we'll do what you want. So
Our planning board hasn't, though.
I'm in the butter to Cassidy. That land is extremely wet, year round. I saw the study for the wetlands. I saw Jimmy Smith year after year, when I lived in town, get his tractor stuck out there every year. It's so super wet. It doesn't dry out, it rarely dries out, only in a drought. The Verderber, what's up with the Verderber? Was that considered for this housing?
I don't believe it
It
was.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Why not?
So we have another property here.
That might be under conservation restriction. We put one of them under complete conservation. Again, I'm going back 28 years of my memory
It's
here.
that one.
Verderber, I believe, was totally conservation restricted. Part of this was, and 28 years ago, we talked about using it for municipal use. So this may not be current news, but it's always been an item that was potential for a town use.
Something.
Yeah, and housing in my mind falls into, for Millis residents, falls into a town use. But yeah, but Verderber's out because it's conservation.
I think it is, but.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things considered with Cassidy Farm land is that there's, I don't know, a traffic study. It's a very busy road. Island Road has had numerous accidents. The interchange down the corner of Exchange and Orchard, numerous accidents, almost fatals. I don't know where the exit's gonna be. It's almost, gonna need a traffic study. There is gonna be a terrific amount of, water that needs to be discharged from this property. And like I said, the design. You have twice the amount of land to work with at the Dewey property. 6.7 acres.
Dewey.
I mean, sorry,
Ron.
sorry,
Dewey's on the table.
correct. Ellen, thanks for correcting me for that. Twice as much to work with. The sidewalk can get put in. There can be an easement put in for the sewer to connect to Charles River from there. Because I believe sewer comes down Farm Street and goes through an easement to Charles River there. I just think that we're pushing this too fast, and this is only the second meeting that has been known by a lot of people to make a decision on this property. Yeah, I guess gotta go to town meeting, but I don't know why we're fast tracking this. I really don't. 2 meetings, and I was like, okay, well, here's the land. I don't get it. I understand town meeting, you gotta get the warrant done and everything else. This could wait till the fall town meeting, but I think that the rest of the town departments, there need to be some kind of conceptual plan showing what's gonna happen. What can happen with these 2 places? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, everybody. David Baker, 2 Holbrook Way. Through various committees have been involved with this land for years, so it was, as somebody said, replication land for the Payne Well. That's where this is the Cassidy property. That's where the conservation portion restriction came from. At one point, it was looked at when we were studying the Clyde Brown School locations as an alternative, and it's been looked at for ball fields when we had an effort for ball fields, and it is, a portion of it is definitely general municipal purposes. Where other cases like the Dewey property were specifically purchased with the conservation restriction. I'm also on the community preservation CPC committee, so they come to us for that funding. The Millis Housing Authority, because I am married to the beautiful chairperson of the Millis Housing Authority, has been looking for, the need is clear that we need more housing, affordable housing for residents to stay in town. They've been looking for locations, but
You can back up a little bit, Dave.
the horse and the cart analogy, in order for them to get started, they need a parcel designated. Once that parcel is designated, then they can start their RFP process, which will do the traffic studies, do the site engineering, answer the questions. And unlike a 40B, because we are below our housing quota, so 40Bs can come into town and be hostile and not go to the site plan review process. Unlike a 40B, this project will have the opportunity to go to the planning board, go to site plan review, submit conceptual drawings, but to answer those questions now, they can't answer those questions because they haven't gotten the RFP out. The process is to get an RFP out, get a developer, starts to draw conceptual plans and finalize plans, and it may pan out that something's an insurmountable obstacle and the project doesn't go forward. I don't have a huge preference on Braun or Cassidy, but proximity to Kennedy, proximity to town, proximity to sidewalks, to me, Cassidy seems like a better pick. But I think just that the housing authority get a spot to start, it's not gonna solve our safe harbor and meet our goals, but it's gonna get us closer. And this will truly be affordable to Mills residents, controlled by the Mills Housing Authority. So when people turn over, they can, that waiting list can be for Millis residents, more than a 40B, which is not affordable and doesn't preference Millis. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I will take you, and then how many more people are looking to speak? 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, 5. All right, I'm gonna take the 5 people, and then we're going to wrap up any last questions and move on.
Hi, my name is Abby Galvin.
You could bend.
Oh, there we go.
Island Road, across the street from a lot of people that I've talked to today. I just want to resonate with the 2 gentlemen that talked about Exchange Street. So I work government contracting. I understand the RFP process. I also understand there's a lot of market research that has to happen before you do an RFP. When we talk about the traffic studies, we talk about the impact studies, all of that stuff. I've heard a lot of comments about, well, the developer would provide us these studies, or the developer would come in and they would let us know what the impacts are. I guess my question kind of doing this is it just one developer that's gonna tell us this stuff? Or are we gonna be able to see multiple developers? When you actually go through the RFP process of putting together, what your requirements are for the proposal, is that team, made up of just Millis Housing Authority? Is that people from the state? Is that people from the town, the different boards? Additionally, conflicts of interest that can be apparent in any of these things, right? So there are people that have businesses, whether it's in construction, whether it's in interior, anything that has to do with that. How do people recuse themselves so that it doesn't appear that there is some sort of conflict of interest? Not kickbacks or anything like that, but it is something that I deal with every day. So I guess for me, is the town being made aware of what exactly is in that RFP? We talk about, yes, you'll be part of the discussions, but typically you're part of the discussions and then they come back, right? So I think it's important with that transparency, especially if people have said, this is the second meeting that has to do with this, and so, you know, kind of taking emotions and just kind of looking at it as it is. If this is a big town decision, then is 2 meetings enough before we bring it up, you know, in May as an actual vote? Or do we think that maybe we could put some more time into the market research, whether it's, you know, an RFI, a request for information, you know, sources sought, we look to see who's actually interested in doing it, what have they done before, look at their past performance, look how much they worked with towns before versus, you know, one person gives us this and then we kind of have to muddle through it. I understand that there's always a, you know, an opportunity to be like, okay, if you don't want to fix this, then like, you're not gonna do it. That feels like a lot of time wasted, right? That we could possibly get that information up front and then make an informed decision. Additionally, you know, it just seems, you know, I lived in Milford, I grew up in Milford, always been through Millis. I have a young family, we live over on Island Road, so it's somewhat of a concern of what sort of impact this is gonna have on emergency services, what sort of impact this is gonna have on the schools, what sort of impact this is gonna have, to be honest with you, even Oak Grove playground, right? I bring my kids there anytime that it's nice out. And so if any of that, you know, whether it's a busy street where we can't cross the street anymore, as some have said, because there's accidents, people coming, they don't stop. It's just one of those things where I just think, again, that whole transparency, communicating, over communicate, because if we don't, then you're going to start to get those emotions and feelings of, you know, it's coming across disingenuous. So I think it's important throughout this entire process that those that aren't familiar with the process are given the opportunity to learn about the process, how they can get involved, who's on those committees, who makes the decision, stuff like that. That's it.
Thank you. Do we have any of those answers?
So I think that what you need to get back to in being familiar with RFPs, that comes later.
Okay,
So you can't provide that now. That's not even something that you could possibly bring to the table at this point. An RFP can't even be developed in regard to a situation like this without the designation of land. We are all theoretical right now. So until we actually get to the point where the town decides they want to transfer the parcel of land, which then goes through state legislation to transfer that land, once approved by the town at town meeting with the support of town residents for exactly what we're talking about. Because I think I keep hearing a lot of commentary about not having control or not having input. We haven't gotten to the point of the input where it comes down to design, development, any of those things. We have to focus on the fact that we're transferring land. The RFP, very well spoken, however, not relevant right now because we're not at that point, nor can we get to that point unless we get the land transferred. That is the bottom line, simple enough. You have to get the land transferred, whether it's Braun or Cassidy, which is the decision that you're making now. That is what it comes down to.
I know it sounds to people in the audience and even to me, it does sound like, we don't have enough information, but this is the process. I've listened to it the other day with something else. Ellen, there's nothing we can do. This is the process. This is the state requirements. So they can't do anything without a piece of land. That's where we are. So I don't know what would change in 3 months, 6 months, 4 years. It's the same piece of land. It's the same as was 10 years ago. What?
We're not gonna see plans for it because there's no
We're never
RFP,
gonna see
right?
plans for it. If we kick this down the road another 6 months or another town meeting, we're not gonna be any, these questions are gonna be the same.
You can't make plans for something that doesn't exist.
So
That's
I
the
know
reality,
it's
but
not
I'll-
a- What?
Piece of land exists, so why can't?
No, I mean,
Guys,
until
Uh,
they're,
No, let her speak. Knock it off.
okay, hold on.
until,
Aaron, get control of it.
Okay,
oh,
Enough.
sorry.
There is.
Buddy.
Until we get the parcels, we can't establish what that might look like. And that's actually what the comment was meant to say. We can't establish what that looks like. And as far as oversight or controls, who's gonna be part of that? Who, you know, ethically will be part of that? None of this will happen without every individual at the state, you know, within the town, everyone will have oversight over this.
okay, we're gonna,
I have a question I'd like to ask, though. I have a question I'd like to ask. this does have to go to the planning board.
So yes.
Yes,
Once-
it's
once-
not like a 40B that goes to the zoning board and you build what you want to build and we
No.
have to say yes.
Yes.
So the planning board is going to sit, review it, and if they don't like what you're building, if it does, and we're the sewer capacity people, if it doesn't hook into sewer, we can say no, that doesn't work, you have to put in a new whatever, and if you say we can't afford it, we walk away. But the planning board is, or you walk away because you can't afford it, but the planning board does get oversight, and a meeting like this in the planning board where you don't like the 3-story design, you want 2-story, this is the time, or you want 1-story instead of 2-story, this is. No, I've got
No,
the
you're
planning
right.
board saying no, and I've got you saying yes.
So we
Yeah.
did, so I just did this in Medfield,
Right,
yeah.
and we had 3 different designs.
Yeah.
We had 3 different designs in the way this was going to look. And there was concern about whether or not it would be 3 stories, if it would be 2 stories, if it would be a hybrid option. All of those things were taken into consideration. We wound up with a hybrid option of the way that we were going to develop this, so that it wouldn't affect the neighbors. Then we talked about the way the lighting was gonna roll out. We talked about all of the aesthetics. Where would we put the plantings? Do we have to build, some sort of like shrubbery that would make it aesthetically more pleasing? You were talking about setbacks. How far do they go? These setbacks probably will be even further back than the ones that exist on Kennedy and King Terrace, just because of the way the codes are right now. It all depends on how we start to move forward, and those will all be taken into consideration.
Okay, just to clarify, Mr. Schultz, the
Yes.
planning board doesn't decide anything.
But you have the hearing,
We
yeah.
take the zoning bylaws and we take the state regulations and we ensure that what the developer is presenting meets all of those qualifications. So the planning board cannot say, no, we don't like that design. We can say that our requirements are that you have to have certain architectural structures. You have to have certain screening. You have to have setbacks. You can't have, the lighting cannot, it can't go so far. But unfortunately,
Aesthetically,
it is a
yeah.
mistake
Yeah.
that most people think is that the planning board can say, yes, it can, no, it can't. When we have said, no, you can't do this, if it's within the bylaws and it's within the state regulations, that developer's gonna sue the town, it's gonna cost us $50,000 to defend a
Right.
case that we're gonna fail. I have a question, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna take advantage of being here. As a real estate attorney, I have had deals where I wanna buy Ellen's property, but I wanna build something, but I'm gonna make that purchase and sale agreement contingent upon I get these permits. That's what happened with Glen Ellen. The contract was signed, but the property didn't actually sell for several years because all the permitting, everything had to be in place. Is there a process, and I'm asking, because I don't know because it's state regulated. Is there a process where the town can vote that we want to designate Ron, Cassidy?
Yeah.
My backyard, whatever, but not actually transfer the property until, but we're contractually obligated to do that if A, B, C, D, and E happen. And then in that, then the RFP, then the town actually can say, these are the things we want to see in the development. Is that something, and I'm assuming you guys don't know the answer
I
to
have
that.
no idea.
Is that something we can find out instead of saying, here you go,
We can look into
here's the
that.
land.
Yeah.
Because then
That would-
if because of the sewer, because of the wetlands,
Yeah.
it falls through. Now, how do we get the land back? Can you look into finding out, can we become contractually obligated to do this? If A, B, C, and D happen without actually transferring ownership of the property?
Good question.
It's not.
So, yes, you're definitely next. If I could have the other like 3 or 4 people who wanted to speak, just line up behind this gentleman. And we will do that and, close out this conversation.
Hello,
Yes.
Pick that up. There you go.
hi, my name's Greg Selter, I live at 44 Timberline Road, and I've been here 33 years, raised my family here. The 2 kids and my wife, well, my kids are going, living somewhere else now, but. But you brought up several times, there's need for 9,000.
So we have 9,000 people on the wait list.
For Millis?
For Millis.
We only have a population of 9,000.
No, they're from,
So through the centralized wait list application process,
Right.
you can apply from anywhere to apply to an authority. There are 240 in the state of Mass.
So 9,000 shouldn't mean anything, so for our population, 9,000, I'm not gonna double it.
No, there are 9,000 people that are on the wait list in need for a small town like Millis, yes.
Okay,
94 Millis residents.
94 Millis residents, okay. Well, I'm gonna bring up stuff that was sort of brought up, like one of the things, but my concern is I've lived there for 33 years. I've watched like Exchange Street there at Island Road get extremely busy from like you basically pull out, no problem now, you almost take your life in your hands by pulling out on the road there almost any time of day. So I can only imagine you add that many units, how many more cars it's gonna bring into the area. The water pressure already has been dropping around town. I don't know if anyone's noticed. If you take a shower early in the morning with people, everybody's doing it. You have lower water pressure, all of a sudden in the middle of the day, you get normal water pressure again. Obviously, this is gonna affect that. Hopefully, there's some plan to higher the water pressure in some ways, so it won't go down to nothing. And also, well, the sewer issue was in the back of my head before he even brought it up, because, I'm live like up in the upper part of Timberline Road. I still know when the trucks are down below working on that sewer pump. So I can only imagine if they try to hook into that line, it's gonna create havoc on that line. So those are a lot of my concerns, but I think all the concerns everybody's brought up here have to be seriously thought of before moving forward, because if they're not addressed, it's gonna be a nightmare. Thank you. And I'm not against affordable housing. I just think you have to be rational in what you do, so, thanks.
Thank you.
Jeff Ward, 53 Timberline. I think a lot of the confusion happens that, very many people understand the process and don't even understand why they're here tonight. Are we deciding what property actually happens tonight? Is that part of the process tonight? You're deciding A or B?
This discussion is, oh my God, I don't have the word.
part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, this was a
So that
discussion.
should have been, announced a little bit further so that there could have been further discussion and knowledge. I just learned of this last week. The other question I have is, you give one, is there a chance you're gonna give both? Such a huge need. Do you have any assurance if you do one, you're not gonna do the other?
I mean, I don't know that I'd say there's an assurance. I mean, the properties are town owned, so I mean, in a way, they're kind of fair game for the town to decide what to do with them.
So the cost is a lot of money to do A or B for sewer and water and.
Right,
Yeah.
so then we have to factor
So
that
it could
in,
be,
yes.
factored into either or both.
right?
So now it comes down to, for this particular project, high level, because you can't do any studies. Which property is better suited for low income, affordable housing that is going to be built, and the nature of it being affordable is it's gonna be built inexpensive, with low maintenance. And on an open field like Cassidy, that is a main portal into our town, through Holliston, through Sherburne, that's gonna stick out like a sore thumb. I mean, there's nothing protecting it. There's nothing protecting it. When you look at the site of Braun, that's a beautiful piece of property for low-income people to have a little bit of privacy. There's a bit of a portal entry to get you from the road into the property, give you a sense that you're not in state housing. And that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So can I have a comment about that? I feel like what was just translated is that when you're saying affordable housing, you feel like we're dumbing down the town in the way we're building it. It will be built with taste and care and conducive to the nature of your town to make sure that it looks beautiful and it does not take away from the neighboring houses, or if you feel like Sherburne is a comparative coming into Millis, that it will look lovely. So when we look at this from a development perspective, just because it's affordable housing doesn't make it poor or unaesthetically pleasing.
I said, inexpensive build.
You,
And when you put a 2 to 3 story structure into an open field, by the nature of however pretty you make it and what premium materials you may utilize and retaining walls and shrubbery you may put in, aesthetically, in an entry portal to the town of Millis, it's not as pleasing as the beautiful open field that it is.
I mean, it may
So
be
beautiful
hard to
open field.
picture.
correct.
I
It
mean,
most
And
certainly
then you
is.
take a
I
look
agree.
at drawing, and you take a look at that site, form follows function. You know, and you'd have a beautiful portal entry right into the property. Privacy for those residents. I can't speak to the closeness of town, but at Timberline, it's not very close to it. If you wanna walk downtown, it's not safe, it's not very, you know. But anyway, I don't wanna speak to that. I just say, you know, when you have these two pieces of property, you wanna take a look at what somebody else is gonna build. That's what I'm understanding. We're not gonna have any say. We'll be able to voice our opinion, but nobody can tell the developer what he is going to build.
right.
And when you put that in such an open area on a prime thoroughfare into your town, into this town, I don't think that property is for that particular build.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. How are you gonna follow that, Elizabeth?
I'm gonna say, hi, I'm Elizabeth Derwin. I'm the chairman of the Council on Aging Board. And there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of emotion in this. But I think one thing we need to focus on is no one is coming up here saying we don't need some more affordable housing for seniors. And I think that's a commonality that we should all share. Many people in this room recently got a survey, came out of the Council on Aging through UMass. And the focus of the survey is how can our current Millis residents continue to live safely and independently as they continue to age. Right at the top of the list was expense and it was housing. The Kennedy and the King properties were built in 1966. So it's been 60 years since this town has invested in some kind of housing that allowed people to age safely and independently within their own community. So I certainly understand lots of concerns. I think Nicole's suggestion of exploring that is a big step forward. I think maybe a breakthrough in this conversation. But I hope everyone leaves here tonight knowing that commonly as a community, we care about our seniors. We know we need some more affordable housing. 60 years is probably too long. And that I think an important statistic that Kansas shared is that of the last 10 units that were built over at Kennedy Center in King Terrace, 8 of 10 of those went to Millis residents. So the same should be thought of wherever we build some more, but that we need it, our Millis residents need it, and it is something we all share in common.
Thank you.
Central 52 Island Road, otherwise known as Susan's husband. I'd like to follow, and I'm neighbors of the Multinskis and many here. So I don't want to rehash a lot of what's been said. I know that wasn't the intent, and I think Nicole actually had some great ideas here. But I'd just like to say too that this really came up like fast tracked at the last meeting on March 2nd. And the MBTA rezoning initiative took approximately 2 years from start to finish. It included a rigorous and iterative knowledge development process. The Metropolitan Area Planning Council was part of that. They developed a really heavy knowledge base of what the impacts would be. I know that you're saying that this isn't part of the process, but I really think it should be. Secondly, just to also reiterate the water issues, the water tables are very high there. I actually went out the other day, last week. I took a whole bunch of pictures of what it looked like across the whole field. I sent it to all of you. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. I also went over to Braun that day, and while that was wet, it wasn't anywhere near wet as the whole property over at Cassidy. So, I mean, I think that needs to be taken into consideration as well. One other question, is this gonna be age restricted just for seniors?
So that remains to be seen, but that is what we're considering.
Okay, so maybe not, right? And then the last thing is I was at the last meeting with you all 3 weeks ago. I brought up the point that had there been a legal review of whether public housing was a municipal use? I haven't seen anything. I've actually requested it. So is that public information? Because that really should be part of the discussion, like how this came about.
We don't have a formal opinion, but we've had discussions with town council, and he firmly believes that this type of housing through the state is a municipal use under the law, so it would count towards this property would fall within that scope. I'm sure if the board decides to move forward with this, we'll have a municipal opinion drawn up prior to town meeting.
Okay, because that's important to know, for everybody going forward, because I actually attached the article to my request, so there was very specific language in there. And I know at the last meeting, we said things have evolved. That wasn't, the original intent wasn't to do what's being proposed here. But the town voters, when they voted that was Article 17, and they weren't necessarily voting for public housing in Nolan Cassidy. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody that came out tonight and everybody that made statements and everybody that just came out and listened. I think that was very important discussions that were had tonight. We will further discuss in relation to what we will be putting on the warrant for town meeting for further deliberation, discussion by the town.
April 6th is the next meeting.
Our next meeting is April 6th, where we would discuss further.
April 6th.
And yeah, April 6th is our next select board meeting. The town meeting where this would be on the warrant would be Monday, May 4th at 7:30 PM at the middle high school. Right, so are we going to the permitting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next item on our agenda is to discuss the contract for the permitting guide.
I think we're gonna take a minute.
Okay, we'll give her a reset.
Everybody clear out.
Be right back. I'm not.
Hold on one second. Dan, you good?
I gotta say, nobody needs to know. Because I just sit there finishing up. I'm like, you can bring that another day off.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there are exception.
You know what?
I want something. They were for it. That is the last part. So you know, I need fun. I didn't be in the same. I want to keep better. I was not beautiful. And you know, I was just really opportunities, possibilities. And give it, no, because the first thing, what's my blind thing? I got that. I do want something. Yeah. He doesn't offend down. Right, oh, I would have said, I'm very nervous. Very nervous. I would take my time. Yeah. There's so many people that do, and I live, I love it, and I was around to get people. Oh, that's great.
For those services,
They don't have.
go down, you can. Are so bad, you come in. Yeah. And then down there.
Same thing.
Anyway, yeah. So there is a. We're gonna be.
Yeah. Say hi to.
What am I signing? Oh man, that's a lot of power. I didn't want to check who's you out here. No. Where's my address? There we go.
Nate, do you need signatures?
I do, here, I'll do you. Yep, constable.
Okay, great.
I only need, 12 more.
I thought they did.
Good job.
Does this have?
So, yeah.
It's designed. Three.
Yep. Yep.
Maybe it's the.
They wanted to. The road.
Well, that's- yeah.
All the trees. Put in.
They do a Nate, do that.
Not bad.
Pull the bar.
Well, let's find out.
So far,
everything
everything.
that's-
Fine, yeah. Before you get it down. That's. Yeah, it's not.
We just have two things left. And then executive session.
Yep. So. This halves.
Yep.
The warrant.
Okay.
But
Alright, thank you.
Comments on them.
Right.
I just.
All right,
I don't know.
Well, we'll find out. That'll be, that's, now we gotta leave.
I gotta find out from.
Small recess, yes.
Was it important?
We are back.
We're back, let's do it.
All right.
All right. Okay, we have two items left on our open session agenda, and then we will go into executive session to
Really?
finish up. Oh, Do I need to wave?
Oh, wait,
Yeah,
there we
that's
go.
what you-
No, they do love it.
Our niece was visiting, and if you,
Because they have-
grandniece, I guess, if you wave at her, she waves.
No.
Right.
Okay, we are back in business. Thank you for your patience. We have 2 open session items left, and then we will go into executive session to wrap things up. The first thing we have is to discuss the contract for the permitting guide.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I submitted to you a draft, letter from town council that they've requested to send to, Aaron Schaefer, Land Use Consulting, in regards to the status of a contract. Asking the board this evening on behalf of town council to authorize town council to send that letter out, to Schaefer Land Use Consulting.
Okay,
I move the board authorize town council to send the letter to, the consultant regarding the final payment. Lost my place. Didn't find where on.
Second,
then moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Great, thank you.
Next, we have review and discuss the draft list of the 5/4/26 annual town meeting articles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In your packet is a draft warrant with 21 articles. Majority of these articles are standard articles that you see every spring, annual town meeting. With your indulgence, I will go through every article.
you all right? Yeah.
I will go through every article briefly, but please let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Article 1 is a standard article we have every year for unpaid bills. I am currently working with our finance director to determine what specific bills we have that fit into that category. So I will have more detailed information on that for your next meeting. The next article is our transfers for in our current operating budget, any year-end transfers that are needed. Again, we'll have more information on that at your next meeting on April 6th. Article 3 is our general budget. Again, on April 6th, we'll have a discussion on the overall town budget and the status. I did mention this at the beginning, but I think in the schedule, the board is meeting on April 6th. We'll further discussion on the warrant, and then the board is scheduled to sign the warrant on April 13th. So 3 weeks from tonight. Articles 4, 5, and 6 are all having to do with the various enterprise funds for the town. Again, they're budgetary articles. Article 7 is our standard consent article, where the town approves amendments to our Schedule A salary plan under the personnel plan and the Schedule C employee benefits. Item 2 is standard allowance for Board of Health to appoint its members to other town offices or positions, and which is required in the law if they want to do those things. Item 3 is the MGL Chapter 44, Section 53E.5 revolving funds. I think the only change that we're looking in those funds for the upcoming year is the Council on Aging Program Services Fund. They've requested that to be increased from 10,000 to 25,000 to allow them to spend up to 25,000. Item 4 is the Community Preservation Fund. Again, that's the standard budget fund for the Community Preservation Committee. Article 8 is the Capital Committee. Those are all the items for under the Capital Planning Committee. I believe that the chair of the Capital Planning Committee would be scheduled to come meet with you on April 6th at your next meeting to discuss all those items. Article 9 is for the is approval for the lease of a police cruiser. The funding for this is in the police department budget, but because it's a borrowing, it needs separate authorization for 2/3 vote in the town meeting warrant. Article 10 is to transfer from free cash a sum of money to the Tri-County Regional Vocational Technical High School debt account. This is for their school project. The board had talked about this the day of the budget meeting, to be able to put a large sum of money in there to be able to cover the costs associated with the debt for at least several years. Article 11, that's the discusses the transfer of land for affordable housing. That was your recent discussion this evening. I'd be working with town council on more specific language there. And the board would need to make a decision on that at the latest at your meeting on April 13th. If that article is to go forward. Article 12 is $200,000 from the Community Preservation Housing Reserve Fund for the Affordable Housing Project through Metro West Collaborative Development, Inc., which was totally separate from what was discussed this evening, for 1178 Main Street. Article 13, Community Preservation Project for the high school baseball scoreboard. Still waiting for language from the CPC on that item. Article 14, the FEMA flood map revision project. This is the process for the town to be able to appeal the FEMA maps that were approved back in the fall. There is a lengthy process, but there is a very structured process the town can at, and based on our review, we have a very good chance of winning that appeal, but it does require the town to move forward with a full study of the area, which could be in excess of $100,000 for that cost. We're still nailing down the exact cost for that, but I'll be able to talk about that more at your next meeting. Article 15 has to do with a request for a pilot agreement for 1073 Main Street. That's the old GAF property across the street, and that is for solar panels. They're gonna have approximately 2 megawatts of electricity coming from those solar panels.
On the roof or on the ground?
Both. They're gonna cover the roof with them, and they're gonna be in the back parking lot. They've already put in some of the foundations for the
Can you
structures.
see it from 109?
Not really.
Am I gonna be able to get a tan
You
in
can
my
see it from the
window?
cemetery, maybe.
Yeah, you'd have to
Oh.
drive in to really see them.
Okay.
So I'm currently working with the finance director and the principal assessor on reviewing the draft pilot agreement, and town council's reviewing that as well. So again, we'll have more for that at your next meeting. Article 16 is a request from the Capital Improvement Planning Committee for an amendment to Article 5, Section 23 of the general bylaws. The main changes here in their request is to change the name of the committee from the Capital Improvement Planning Committee to just the Capital Planning
We
Committee.
should have left it at CIPC, then we could differentiate it from the other CPC.
I don't think I've ever called it the capital plan.
None of them ever have.
But it's technically that's the name of the committee.
None of us have ever called it anything but capital planning committee.
Yeah.
No, it's on the capital improvement planning committee.
And then adding an ex officio member. Currently, I'm the only ex officio member, and it would add the finance director, since she attends many of their meetings. The major thing it would redefine what a capital item would be. The new definition would say, for the purpose of this bylaw, a capital item shall be defined to include major non-recurring assets or projects which cost more than $25,000, are not included in annual operating budgets, have a useful life of at least 5 years, and are purchased or undertaken at intervals of not less than 5 years. Capital items shall include, but not limited to, equipment, technology, vehicles, buildings, real property, bridges, water, sewer, and stormwater projects. At the discretion of the select board and or the town administrator, certain items less than 25,000 may be considered by the committee as capital items.
Say that again?
We can ask them to consider stuff more. We can ask them to consider other stuff.
Just at the last meeting, they approved the 10 grand for the scoreboard. So what would that woman do now?
They go
Now,
directly on the select
Power
board.
committee.
They come directly.
That was the CPC. This
No.
is the CPC.
Yeah. that
This
was
is
the-
another CPC.
I'm sorry, this is capital planning committee.
Yeah.
That was community
Preservation.
Preservation.
I don't know what you're talking about.
guys.
The acronym.
At our next meeting, I will address a new possible name change.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it can't be CPC or CPIC, I think it needs to be like.
I'm running a thesaurus in my head right now and I'm not coming up with much, forgive me.
Capital Planning Board,
Long meeting.
CPB.
The capital planning board, I like that. How do you like that?
Moving on.
Article 17 is from the planning board, amend the zoning law, battery storage systems and data storage systems. I'm not the expert on that, so unless someone from the planning board wants to address that tonight, it'll be addressed at a future date. Article 18, that's a standard one we put in there to put a sum of money into the unemployment insurance fund. Article 19, put a sum of money into the MGL chapter 41, section 111F injury leave indemnity fund. Article 20, put a sum of money into the other post-employment benefits fund. And Article 21, transfer funds to the stabilization fund. So those are all the articles. I guess I would ask if the board members feel I've missed any articles that want to be there.
Snow and ice?
What?
Snow and ice can be, I will talk.
That'll be prior
I
year
will talk-
budget.
I will talk to the finance director about that, to make sure that if that's not something we can handle, through the recap, then we'll put an article on here. I
It
believe,
just seems to me like it's going to probably be a lot.
yes, if it's of a magnitude, we think we need to put something there,
Yeah.
we'll add that. So I'll make a note of that.
There was a request from the Cultural Council.
We have a cultural council?
Yep.
There's also the CPC.
So
Cultural Planning Committee.
they have,
Council.
they have a budget of like
It's the CPCC.
CPCC, they have a budget of about $7,000. And they want us to like match it, like double it.
So we
And-
could add that into the budget, if we wanted to add that.
Hold on.
If it's something the board wants to
Hold
go
on.
ahead with.
Who's in the cultural council? Where do they meet? And who liaises?
There's no.
Nobody liaises. I don't know where they
You
meet.
don't want me to liaise.
They do here in other places, but.
I know one member reached out to me because they give grants to, their whole business is giving grants to different groups that come forward for
Culture.
Cultural, and
Cultural.
artistic programs.
artistic.
Maybe that show we went to the other night.
Am I hearing that you want?
We have experience.
I just wanted to contribute that Middlesex Savings Bank is a longtime friend of the Cultural Council, and it's a very wide tent of activities, including this stellar program you went to, but a lot of what happens at Niagara Hall, a lot of what happens at the library. And I do believe that under anybody who does grant giving also looks for town support.
So, hold on, we give the
Our show.
cultural council $7,000.
No, the town does not. The town, the state through a grant gives the cultural council, and every town in the Commonwealth gets this grant, and it's a different amount depending on population and other
Okay, and we
aspects.
get seven,
We get approximately 7,000 a year.
And they-
There's nothing, the town generally does not put any money towards this.
they want the town to match it. They've asked.
Yes.
So that's totally up to the select board to decide if you want to add that into a budget request.
You're leaning.
So if we can add it into a budget request, that would be great, because moving forward, then those funds are available and that we can have just more cultural programming in town, which is a great thing.
It is.
Otherwise, it would have to be an article to add money.
I would like to recommend that Ellen Rosenfeld be a liaison.
I know. Here's my question.
She's a liaison to everything though.
Here's my question though, why now do they want us to match it? Did something happen?
I don't know that any specific
Okay.
event happened. I think they just wanted to be able to provide more and have more out there. And,
Okay.
I think it's a good ask.
Generally speaking,
No,
cultural
we-
councils get more requests for funds than funds available. I mean, so basically, a lot of times a group will come and say, we like $500 or 1,000 for this, so, well, we can only give you half of that. And you'll have to find the other half somewhere else. So that happens often. Every town that I've worked with, the money never is enough. They just try to stretch it out as much as they
Do we
can.
wanna talk about this, or have we already talked about this? I don't remember anything.
No, we didn't talk about it. I was just bringing it up since we were going through the warrant articles, but if we're on board with looking at the budget and seeing if we can wiggle it in there, then that's fine. We don't need to further discuss it in
What
terms
does
of
anybody think?
articles.
Come on.
I think we don't use the word wiggle it in. I think it needs a little bit more thought.
Okay, I mean, I say that very loosely.
And Mike.
I'd be open to it. I think that it'd be good to maybe have a representative of the cultural council come and talk about the
Yes.
programs that given
You.
and the good efforts from people they've had to turn away.
I like that.
To really prove to the finance committee, town meeting that
Wrap
this
that into
needs
the municipal moment.
Oh, my God, I love it.
cultural council, what did they
Everything
do?
about it.
Next municipal moment.
There you go.
April sixth, let's
One
do
more
it.
than
I think Megan Kilo is the.
Yes,
I like that. That's a fun thing.
So it's good to understand how they would picture using those funds.
okay.
It's
That's a good
actually nice, it's
suggestion.
bringing back the art, it's all about the art, right? I mean, come on.
Yes, it is.
How could you be against it?
All right.
I think that's it.
What do you
That's
want?
it.
I think they want to
They
rethink it
want
or
to
something.
change this.
I just have one simple request. Halfway down in the first paragraph, it says, according to the committee, the draft was incomplete and included various grammatical and typographical errors. Could we request town council add the word factual? Because in this,
Yeah, actually, what I would
guide-
recommend, if the board is okay with it, for you to contact me tomorrow
Okay,
with
Send
any
me-
requested changes.
okay,
And if the board gives me the authorization to approve any changes requested from the committee before we send the letter, then I'm
I
totally
like
fine
that
with it.
that's a little bit stronger.
Yeah, I
Okay.
like the
It's-
factual being added, and
I like
if there's not significant other changes, I'm fine with that. I mean, there
Yeah.
could be other minor changes.
I've read through.
Don't rewrite it.
I read through it, I don't,
Fine.
it was just a matter of.
I'll make a motion to
The
amend
issue
the
with the
letter.
committee about the motion is full of the factual, even when the corrections were provided to her 3 times, she didn't make the corrections.
I'll make the motion to insert the word factual after grammatical separated by a comma to keep it grammatically correct.
All right.
At the front.
Second.
Put that at the front
Put factual at the front.
and then put a comma
Seconded.
following it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Right.
All right, executive session.
You need to do this.
Oh, I was done. I've lost it. I move the board into executive session to discuss strategy session in preparation for contract negotiations with union and non-union personnel. AFS CME Council 93 and Personnel Plan, and only return to open session for the purpose of adjourning the meeting.
Yes.
Second. Okay, Ellen,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So we are now in executive session. Thank you, everybody. That was one crazy meeting and I appreciate all of you. And thank you, Millis Community Media. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the,